Actually, the poor astronauts that were on the Boeing rocket actually took off today. They
Oh
canceled
yeah,
it a couple
no,
of
I watched
times.
that, man.
How would you like to go into space knowing that Boeing was taking you there or trying to?
Well, Mikey, I mean, let's face it. Everybody who was watching that, and I still watch them. It's great that they're available on YouTube. Um, it's great that you can watch it on, without all the commentary and everything, except the guy who's hitting you up for money. But I couldn't help this morning but watch that spacecraft take off from Florida.
Because
And
what were the chances, right? I mean, what were the odds on that thing actually getting into orbit?
well, I thought the odds were good on getting into it. But what I was trying to figure out was when was the door going to blow off? I mean, I think the late night shows would be remiss if they didn't, if at least somebody didn't have a skit with the door flying off of the space capsule.
Boeing has come up with a way that the door will never blow off again. They're just going to have a curtain with a hook, and that should do it.
Well, I think that, or at least a chain or something to keep the door. I mean, those doors are expensive, and we think we can rebuild them at Boeing. Good morning, Michael Knight. How the hell are you?
It's a big day in our family because little Bo, Bradley Knight Musha, is turning 5 years old today, so it's his birthday, and that's a big day for us.
Well, happy
So
birthday, Bo.
happy birthday to Bo, and we'll be going over there this afternoon, open some presents, cheeseburgers, birthday cake, a song or two. That's the kind
It
of day we have planned.
it sure would be nice if instead of five at 75, what you look forward to was a song and a birthday piece of birthday cake and all the accoutrement that comes along with that, ice cream and sugared
Toys,
soda.
toys, maybe new shoes. Who knows what they're going to go to? As they gave him his choice, and they're going to go to Legoland to celebrate his
Ah,
birthday.
Legoland. Yes, I think that was a favorite of my nieces who lived down in San Diego. I think they were big fans of Legoland, if I'm not mistaken.
They're
Or
actually close. They're actually closer than we are to Legoland.
yeah, I think that's well. At some point, SeaWorld kind of fell out of
SeaWorld
favor.
is got paved over and it turned into a strip mall. Who knows what it is? It's a
Yeah,
dry cleaner.
SeaWorld, right? I mean, that SeaWorld, Disneyland, and Knott's Berry Farm were like the three big dealios, right? When we were growing
That's
up, and you
that's
went to
that's
Southern
right.
California, that's what you wanted to see. If you came from back east, that and the beach is what you knew about.
Right.
And if you watch Red Skelton, Mayor Sam Yorty, because Skelton used to joke about Yorty all the time.
He was not naturally funny, Sam Yorty. He was of all the mayors that we've had, not the funniest.
He didn't look like he was a fun guy. Some of the mayors down there, even Tom Bradley looked like he was. You could get him in a party and get him laughing. When I remember of Sam Yardy, and again, my mind is kind of a childhood mess here. But what I remember of Sam Yardy, he had the glasses, and he just didn't look like he would be happy about anything except the cops bringing the bag up.
No
And
matter what kind of suit you put him in, he looked like he was wearing somebody else's clothes.
right, yeah,
His coat was never going to fit, no matter what.
he was an off the rack shopper.
Yeah, and the mayor that I stuck my microphone in front of the most in Los Angeles was Mayor Reardon, and he was a fair, good man to work with in terms of media relations. That's if you didn't like his politics, that's up to you. He was a Republican, and that's the funny thing about L.A. They have Republicans representing their nature, representing their interests, even though for the most part, a Republican would have a very difficult time getting elected in the state of California. We do have
Well,
mayors. Mayor Reardon was was a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's always interesting in that because New York had its fair share of Republican mayors too.
Yeah.
People forget that John V. Lindsay was a Republican when he was elected to the office
Did
of mayor in
did the
1965.
V stand for Vavoom?
Vliet,
What?
Vliet, Vliet, John
Wow.
Vliet Lindsay.
Family name.
Beats the piss out of me, but I think the fact that I even remember that is amazing. But he was elected out of New York's what they call a silk stocking district, which was the east side of Manhattan, the Gilded Age district, where everybody was.
People living in a townhouse on Madison Avenue.
Yeah, or at least 60th right off of Madison or something like that. And he,
Right. Right.
where when they announced all these different delivery services that go to the department stores and so on and so forth. Well, people said, well, I mean, sorry, but I've been calling Bloomy for years and having my Christmas ornaments delivered. I mean, it was one of those kinds of deals.
It's how it's done.
Right. And
in fact, when I got to New York the first time, one of the producers in the show that we were doing lived in a townhouse off Madison Avenue in the '60s, and I thought that's just how you did it. I didn't know what rarefied real estate that was. I didn't appreciate it till later, and I'm glad I got to see it.
Well, I lived in for a short time, in a shared with 8 other people, I believe it was. We never really got a solid count on how many were living there. But on 69th, right, catty corner across the street from the Colony Deli, which was a 24-hour Jewish deli that served the Upper East Side. And it so happened it also served a large amount of FBI people because the FBI headquarters was on the block.
That's rare territory for the government to have those kind of offices.
And
I think they've been downtown.
The New York headquarters were there, and it was interesting because we were close enough to the FBI headquarters in the garage that if we would, let's say, pull up to the house and have to run in for a few minutes, or pull up the house to grab a bag of pot or something from somebody in the house, that we used to park the car in the FBI's driveway. Run into the house, put the flashers on, and more than once, there'd be a car sitting at the top of the garage there waiting for us to come back. It was kind of a neighbor thing, They knew that people did that every once in a while, and they didn't want to piss off the neighborhood because they were on that block, and so they just didn't get upset about it. This was in the days before 9/11, in the days before massive security. It was basically when you could park in the driveway of the FBI and run in the house and come back out again, and it'd be an agent just sitting there waiting for you to move your car.
But poking the FBI in such a fashion is not the best way to proceed when you're running upstairs to grab your dope.
There was a certain amount of fun about it. There was the whole house, the whole operation, the whole bunch of people that lived there. That was probably the biggest joke, is that, because there were 2 guys there that were, dealing pretty heavily, at the time. There was some interesting people who would show up at the house at times.
Unannounced.
Announced and unannounced. Yeah, it was those days where, you didn't have a cell phone, so you had to go to a phone booth. You had to call somebody. You had to say, "Hey, I'm coming over. I'll be there in 10 minutes." And and it was before the push it through the keyhole era. It was a much, looser era. And, and it would be funny because, you'd come out of the house and, you'd have an ounce in your pocket or something like that and get into the car. There's the two guys in crew cuts sitting, in a '68 Chevy Impala.
It wasn't a Dodge Aspen.
No, what actually this was before the Dodge Aspen. Actually, it wasn't an Impala. It was a Bel Air. It was
Yes.
the government
Yeah, the
Chevrolet.
government
One that
Chevrolet.
had or a Biscayne. It was the cheapest model with the 15-inch police tires on it. I mean, you could smell these guys a block away.
Oh yeah.
Um, I always used to laugh when I would watch the French Connection because the FBI guys in there, which that they had playing FBI guys, were exactly the same guys who were the FBI guys on 69th Street. There was no difference.
They did have similar tastes and fashions.
You could spot them a block away. You knew that they were FBI guys either by the shoes or the short sleeve shirts with a tie on.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Now you know why J. Edgar Hoover wore dresses. He just couldn't stand the suit anymore.
He said, "I'm going undercover, as deep undercover as I can go.
And wherever the covers are, I'm under them.
Wherever the covers are, that's where I'm going."
I'm
So
with the Bureau, as they would say.
I'm with but actually it was funny because in all of this moving around, you actually used to get to kind of I mean, not that you got to know people, but you had to, because you would see some of these guys at the deli,
Right.
or walking up the block or this that, and you had like this relation. Hey,
Yeah.
or in New York, it's different. It's this.
Yeah. Give him a chin.
Yeah. Hey, you move your head up to somebody. That's the acknowledgement.
But it's a sign of respect. It's good to do. You got to, and
Yeah,
if you don't know how to do it, you learn.
Yeah, it is a sign of respect. It's just the quick way to go. Hey, my hands are full. My hands are in my pockets. My hands are otherwise occupied. Boom. Hey,
And it's the way New Yorkers treat their neighbors.
yeah. If you get the up nod, you're doing okay. You're in good shape. It's when you get the look down.
Now, how did you get 8 people to live in this one place? It must have been sizable by New
Easy.
York State.
It was the size of a postage stamp. Well, we had a couple of people that worked nights, so that will leave a couple of people that really like me that wasn't there all the time. I was actually had the double whammy. I was working nights, and I wasn't there all the time, but I wanted to have a place in Manhattan where I could go and catch a couple of winks because I was driving a tow truck at the time.
Right.
And so I wanted to have a place where if it was, 3:00 in the morning or something like that, I could go, wash up, brush my teeth, catch an hour and a half, 2 hours of sleep. And, but there was 2 bedrooms, it was like a railroad flat. And it was like 2 bedrooms and a living room and like a foyer room. And it was a couch, like not a couch, what would you call it? Like a chase lounge.
Yes.
In the foyer room. And people used to sleep on that. People slept wherever you could grab the 2 main guys that lived there had their rooms, and everybody else just kind of crashed and you chipped in on the rent.
Right.
So there was a couple of people that just used it for a meeting up place.
Where do you think the FBI guys got their short sleeve drip dry dress shirts?
Robert Hall probably, or Howard's would have been a good bet, or Alexander's maybe. I mean, they weren't expensive shirts.
No,
they were
no illusion.
$9.99s.
Yep.
But an FBI person wasn't making, I don't think in those days, a hell of a lot of money.
I wonder what that's a good point. I wonder what they did make, because they had to have degrees, they had to have training, they had to have an education, they had to have a lot of the things that a professional would have on his resume that would add to their salary. They would.
Yeah, I mean, even then you had to have I believe you had to have a college degree. You know, you didn't to get on the police department, but to get on the FBI and to move up like that, I think you had to have an education. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of the FBI guys used to go to John Jay College, which was over on the west side,
Huh.
on like 60th and I want to say 11th Avenue or something like that.
John Jay. Do they have a football team?
Uh, you know what? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Maybe squash.
Well, you know what? Maybe they did. Maybe they did have a football team. I just don't. You know, I mean, I didn't. Uh, I'm just looking here. The average. Well, federal white collar employees from 1960 to 1969. Full-time workers, annual private compensation packages, consumer income, annual average wages
For the summer
across
of
all
love.
industries.
It's probably a secure number. They can't talk about it. I'm sorry, Vinny. I can't talk to you about that. I can't talk about my salary or my benefits.
So government government enterprises. 1960 was $4,646. 65 was 55.97. 70 was 79.51. 73 was 10,044. And 1974 was 10,632. And if you got an annual supplement, which probably would be, an FBI person I would think would get, that was another $1,323 in 1974.
They get bonuses based on high profile busts. Then they were involved in
I don't know if they
a
got
case.
bonuses for that. I think they might have just gotten it for time
Time
or
served.
seniority or I don't know exactly what they would. I mean, I'm just kind of looking at a table here and this is from the Bureau of Statistics, Treasury Department, 1976.
You think the FBI is still there by the Carnegie Deli?
No, not the Carnegie. This was the Colony, and I believe that the FBI has moved downtown.
Yeah.
They built a new federal building. I don't know in the 80s, I think.
Using cement that was supposed to be for the Javits Center, but who's counting? You know,
Yeah, but they were a little slow with that, so they sent it over to. And I believe the FBI is in that new federal building now. It's the same building that has the vault that stores all of the gold.
or some of the gold.
Yeah, all the gold they have in New York. I mean, I'm sure they have it spread out. Of course, obviously, Leavenworth has a large supply, but I think this is
Remember, there used to
place.
be the Federal Reserve down off the Embarcadero, right by KRQR and KCBS. It was a big edifice that was there. I pulled up to that. I would get to work at before 4 o'clock in the morning, and the streets closed off, and there's guys standing in the street with guys in suits and with automatic weapons, and they were transferring something from one part of that federal depository to another, and they didn't want anybody to take any off the top. So it was a highly guarded, guns out situation, which was a little weird at 4 o'clock in the morning, I can assure you.
Yeah, I saw that a number of times at the Mint.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Mint that used to be off of DeBose
Yep.
and Market?
Yep.
I saw, because my girlfriend at the time lived on DeBose. And so it was a fairly regular occurrence, a couple of times a month.
Bring out the security.
For a huge contingent of I don't know if they were Treasury agents, FBI agents, Secret Service. I believe they actually was Secret Service.
Could be they work for Treasury, don't they?
Yeah. I think it was Secret Service. Out in the street, blocking off the entire street, and making deliveries, because you made deliveries and stuff to the Mint. I forget what street it is that runs up, but it's like half closed off. It's right where the Muni tunnel starts. So it's the one after Church Street. And so they would block. As a matter of fact, you couldn't even go through on a Muni.
I don't know if that mint is active any longer. Do they still mint coins there?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean,
what's going on in San Francisco is a bit of a mystery to me. I've not been there in so long that I only remember the neighborhoods I used to frequent, and they've all changed. So even what I know is wrong.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting story about San Francisco. I was just doing some research on this, as a matter of fact, for something else I'm working on. And do you know what one of the top 10 tourist attractions in San Francisco is? I mean, you could probably get 9 of them, but I'm sure there's 10th one.
Fisherman's Wharf, Lombard Street.
Coit Tower,
Haight-Ashbury, the corner of Haight and Ashbury.
The Waymo taxis, the driverless taxis,
really
are a huge tourist attraction in San Francisco.
And are they just looking at it, or are they grabbing a cab and going somewhere?
No, they're trying to grab a cab. The problem is you can't, it's almost impossible to get into one. Like on a Friday or a Saturday night, because they're always all, people have booked them. Right. I don't know if you can just street hail them. I'm not sure.
Good way to get run down, because the Waymo can't see you.
Yeah, it's a good way to, stand back as you're hailing it.
Yes.
Because they do have kind of a mind of their own. But yeah, that's turned into, that's a badge of, just like probably at one time shopping at Wilkes, was it Wilkes Bashford?
Wilkes Bashford, or the city of Paris.
Yeah. Right, was a sign of having gone to San Francisco. Now it's probably having a receipt or a selfie or a picture of you riding in the driverless taxi cab.
And you don't know where you're going. You know where you wanted to go, but you have no idea where the cab is going to take you.
Well, in that case, you just sit back and go for the ride, right? I mean, what do you argue?
We go, don't get out of this cab, no matter where he stops.
I mean, okay, so you've gotten in the back of this cab, you've hailed it, or it's come to pick you up at the hotel Jumanji or whatever, and all of a sudden it's taking you out to the Richmond
to see the fog.
Bridge.
Take me to the fog.
What do you do?
Video it.
Nobody there to complain to. I mean, I've never been in one, but I've got to think that there's some kind of emergency mechanism to stop it, or to at least call somebody and say, help.
There's got to be a dispatcher on the Waymo pecking order. Somewhere there's got to be a dispatch. Someone's got to be in charge of where the cars are going.
Well, yeah, but I believe that's all done electronically.
So it's just a robot in charge of a robot.
Right. So now there's obviously there's got to be a human somewhere in the mix, but that human's probably sitting in a dispatch center somewhere,
In Bangalore, India.
Yeah, who's how can I help you? They're too busy electing their prime minister another time to figure out what the heck is going on. So I think it's how do you what do you do if there's an emergency? I mean, I guess you pull out your cell, you call 911, and you tell the cops, "Hey, you're not going to believe this," and to which the operator immediately says, "Pal, we're in San Francisco. I believe anything."
But you're not going to believe this. I'm not really a person. I'm a robot too.
Yeah, there's nothing you're going to tell me that's going to make this that I'm not going to believe at this point. I've heard and seen it all. Hit me. What do you got?
I'm stuck on the windiest, crookedest street in the world in a robot truck.
Yes, this Waymo keeps going backwards up Lombard Street.
That's not a good sign.
And it's causing a number of different small problems that, when added together, result in a larger problem.
It's going to be a Friday night to remember.
Not the least of which is I can't get out of this thing.
the doors won't open until the robot says we're there.
The doors are locked, and I'm going for my 11th time backwards up Lombard Street.
I hit no tip, and the doors won't open.
Yeah, we definitely need some kind of help, and the cops are probably going, "Oh no, not again."
Well, we talked about this a couple of years ago. Somebody programmed all these driverless cars to go to golf in Sacramento or golf in California.
Yeah.
And they all just pulled into the intersection and stopped. It was a bit of a joke, but not for the people who were stuck in the backup.
Yeah, there's been a few incidents with these things in San Francisco. I guess maybe that's part of the allure for some people is you can never be 100% sure you're going to get to your destination. Although, to be honest and fair about it, when I drove a yellow cab,
Same thing.
you weren't always guaranteed 100% that you were going to get to your destination anyway.
There's no 100%ers when you're in a cab, except maybe New York.
There's no guarantee that taxi and that driver was going to function in the proper way so that you could get from where they picked you up to where you intended to go.
And there's no cash cab for San Francisco, which is a terrible, terrible. There should be cash cabs for Los Angeles too.
They should be everywhere. They should have. At the very least, they should have some kind of way that you can play for your fare.
Yeah.
You get your cab. There's a slot machine or some kind of electronic gambling device that's stuck on the window, and you can sit there and play it until your credit runs out, or you win and decide not to play anymore, or you lose. One way or the other. At least it would make the trip go faster, I think.
And then you can be on TV if you win some money, or lose it all on the double or nothing video bonus question.
I think that, Mikey, I think that's a great idea. I think that's something that that we should approach the cab companies about. You could fund Waymo.
Cash Cab used to be in New York. Now it's in Toronto and Vancouver.
Yeah.
And they should just expand upon it. It's a great game. It's a great concept.
Do they still have that same guy doing it?
No, they have a new kid.
New kid doing it. I thought that guy was good. I liked
Ben something was his name.
Yeah.
Now the new kid is
I really like that. I like that. I like the premise of the show. I like the idea that it was a rolling game show. As a fan of game shows, as I am, and I always thought that we should have done our radio show. I mean, we did do it once or twice. Did we do it in traffic? When we took the Roadhog. The Roadhog all over.
We're coming up on the 520 for the fourth time this morning. We're coming around. We're coming around.
Right. Well, what was it? We couldn't get out of line of sight of the microwave transmitter, if I remember right. And so we had to always be, we couldn't go past this spot, that spot, this spot.
You couldn't go to Tacoma. You couldn't just drive down 5. You'd lose your signal.
Yeah. You only certain, there was only a certain, I definitely don't think we could go past the airport.
No.
As a matter of fact, I don't even think we could go near the airport because of all the different
Too much stuff in the air.
signals that were going around. But I thought that was, I mean, I had never heard of anybody else doing a show like that, where you were actually in traffic, reporting on traffic, which, to be honest with you, is where every traffic reporter should be.
Exactly.
I mean, not for nothing, but if you're going to report, you can't report on a murder if you don't go to the murder. You can't report on a strike if you don't go to the picket line.
How can you do traffic if you don't know what's going on?
How could you do traffic legitimately if you're sitting on the 96th floor of the Bank of America Tower?
Traffic's not about the traffic, as you know. It's about the spot.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, Michael, I mean, if you live in a city and you haven't figured out the traffic already, if you've lived there more than 6 months,
And there's nothing I can do to help you. Nothing I can do to help you get to work.
whatever you tell me isn't going to make it any easier. Unless you tell me that they've dropped off a new highway since last night.
And in so many cities, your choices to get to work are not infinite. You've got 1 or 2 ways possibly. And that's it. You can't take the third or fourth alternative because they don't exist. You're not going to work. You're just driving around.
Right. And in cities like San Francisco and Seattle, your choices are very, very limited because you have
There's water.
bodies of water.
Yeah.
That, same thing as you have in New York. I mean, New York is there's a lot more of the bridges, but you got, everybody's got to go to 59th Street to go over the 59th Street Bridge. Everybody's got to go to 33rd Street to go through the Queens Midtown Tunnel.
And if you're on the west side, there's a thing called the Hudson River. You can't go there.
Right.
You can go near it. You can go near it, but you can't go in it.
Right. Either the Hudson, either the Lincoln, which is around 40th Street, or the Holland, which is around Canal Street, or the George Washington Bridge, which is up by 179th.
And that's it.
And if you don't take those ways across, you got to be swimming.
You'll find out what's in that water.
Well, I always wondered not why they didn't build more, because I think that would have been close to impossible to. I mean, you would have really had it now a landscape marked up with bridges.
And by the time they figured out they needed more bridges, it was too late. It was taken up with Manhattan.
Yeah, well, have you ever seen a highway that was built and then had no traffic on it?
Don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea that you build a highway. The highway is always going to be behind the times, 5, 6, 10 years, because you're building it to traffic that is out there now or anticipated in the next few years. And as we know, there's a population explosion. Now, that may change because that dynamic of population explosion is changing and people are working at home more. So you don't have the amounts of people commuting that you used to have, but
But
it's still
most
enough.
but most busy freeways in most towns were they came to nowhere near anticipating what the traffic flow was going to be like. If there had just been two more lanes, things would have been better. But there aren't two more lanes, so things are chock a block.
And you always had people double decking the freeways, which they tried to do in San Francisco and in New York, um, and that has had mixed results.
They don't do
Not
that.
so good in an earthquake,
It's hard to build a freeway on top of a freeway and still use the freeway underneath while you're building the one on top. It just doesn't work
especially
that
when the
way.
one on top falls on it. Makes it
Pancakes
extremely. You have to at least have an all-wheel drive vehicle.
and or syrup if the pancakes are served suddenly and without warning.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't know that they're ever gonna figure out traffic. They have been touting this law in New York. I don't know if you saw this today, but today was the day. No, excuse me, June 30th, I believe, is the day that congestion pricing was supposed to take effect in New York City.
And how do you
So what
pay?
that says is that if you want to go into New York City between certain hours of the day, you have to pay a toll or a tax or whatever you want to call it. But there's a fee now to get into Manhattan. But this morning, the governor of New York State, Kathy Hochul,
Said, hold on.
said, wait a second, we're just not going to do this yet. We're going to hang on. So all of the money that had been planned to come into the Metropolitan Transportation Authority's coffers for all these different rail projects and things that they have on the books. And you know as well as I do, you walk down a hall in City Hall and everybody's got a project.
And they probably were already spending the money that they didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, there's everybody, there's some people walk around with a project in every pocket. So they're aghast this morning at the very least. What are they going to do?
What was the fee? What's the daily fee to drive into Manhattan?
I think it was $14 every time you drove in. I think there were exceptions if you were going in for work, if you were a taxi, if you were low income, there seemed to be a long list of
Exceptions.
exceptions of we're not going to, you don't have to pay it, which made some people happy.
Is that every bridge? Is that coming in from New Jersey, coming in from Queens, no
Wherever
matter
you
what?
come from, you got to pay. You got to pay to come in. You could, if you land, if you drop out of a plane in a car and you land
You got to pay.
below, I think it was below 86th Street, you got to pay. An idea that I don't think is a bad idea. I mean, cities in Europe have done it for a while. And if if you say, well, if you can't afford $14 a day to get into Manhattan, maybe you shouldn't be driving a car.
Take the train. That's what it's for.
Take the train. There's plenty of public transportation available. You can park your car in Brooklyn or in Queens or in Jersey and get on a train and take that into Manhattan.
And I'm assuming that midtown traffic is just as crazy as it's always been. It's at a maximum.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, I think we've been caught actually together in rush hour traffic in New York, and it's just no fun. I truly believe that people live shorter lives in the New York metropolitan area because it's so stressful to be in that environment.
Well, if you do it every day, you just got to sit back and relax. You're not going anywhere in a hurry. You're going to probably get there. Not guaranteed, probably get there.
Yeah, and with the advent of cars now that do a limited amount of self-driving, many cars now you can set a button and it has a system of lidar that allows you to set that car to 10 miles an hour and sit back and virtually not pay attention to anything.
I wouldn't do that in Manhattan. I
And
know.
it'll move with the traffic. But yeah, it's a hard thing to do in Manhattan.
Dangerous thing to do.
I don't even know if it's legal to do it in Manhattan, but it's certainly people do it. And I don't think it works over 25 miles an hour. Or there's some kind of hitch in the system that, because the car I'm driving this week has it, and I was in traffic yesterday, and I was playing around with it, and from what I saw, there's a uh, certain criteria that the system has to meet before you can just press the button and let it crawl along.
What are you driving?
I'm driving a Subaru Solterra, which is Subaru's. Yeah, it's all electric.
Mm-hmm.
It's this joining of Toyota and Subaru.
A venture.
So that, yeah, joint venture. They've produced two cars. The BZ4X or something like that is the Toyota product, and the Subaru product is the Solterra. And it's a really nice car. I mean, it's kind of the size of a RAV4,
Mm-hmm.
kind of those dimensions.
Yeah.
It's a cute little car. It's really technologically, it's like loaded with stuff. And considering the price that you pay for it, which they can be bought for a smidge under $50,000 for a well-equipped one. You can buy, you buy cheaper than that, but you might not get all the equipment. But to get the stuff that you want in it, I think the list price is about 54. You probably buy the car for somewhere under 50. And I like the car. I drove it up to the beach last night, up to Camino Island, and it was a great ride. Electric, quiet, very well horsepowered. I mean, it's got a little kick to it.
Ah.
You hit that gas pedal. I mean, you can't even call it a gas pedal anymore. You hit the accelerator, and it flies.
And the electrical system is made by Subaru or by Toyota?
By Toyota, which I forget which subcontractor makes the
Batteries.
electrical system. But it's on a par with everything else that I've driven. I mean, it probably goes as fast as and again, it's different variables of what you want, but as a daily driver, as a car that you say, yeah, I'm going to put the kids in, take them to school, go shopping, go to the mall, boom, 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 come back home, or I'm going to commute 100 miles a day into the city, 100 miles back from the city every day. It's got that down pat.
And how much does the electrical charger cost on top of the list price?
It depends on your installation, what they have to do. I mean, you probably obviously have 240 power in your house. Now you can buy a DC fast charger. That's going to run you I mean, that thing could run you probably 10 grand.
Wow.
But if you buy a regular 240-volt charger that would run off of the same line as your washer, dryer, uh, certain other appliances that
Right.
run off of 240, that's going to be less. It's probably going to be. I mean, you can buy a charger. Some companies will actually give you a charger with the car, and then you have to pay for
That
the
makes sense.
installation. But
Yeah.
many people that drive these cars are getting hip, and the companies are getting hip. That one of the selling points on this thing is to come and put a charger in somebody's garage, so that then when they pull in at night, they just plug it in and it's ready to go the next morning.
The
The one good
San
thing
Francisco
about
Giants need that. The San Francisco Giants need one of those for the dugout. If you get a player that's hitting like our designated hitter is hitting less than 220, we got to plug him in and charge him between innings. So at least
not a good sign, Mikey.
it's not a good sign. Mike Yastrzemski hitting 213 out in right field. These are
Not a
the
good
guys.
sign,
These are the
Mikey.
guys that are playing. These are the guys that hit into double plays over and over and over again. I want them charged up in the dugout so when they come out, they're fully charged.
Never a good sign when your designated hitter
Below
is
Mendoza.
your eighth hitter in the lineup.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, call me foolish, but I always think that DH should be somewhere in the heart of the order.
And it's like we got it half right. He's designated, but he ain't a hitter.
Yeah,
That's where we made our mistake. He's fully designated, but not much of a hitter.
he's got a patch on his sleeve that says he's designated. It says in the lineup card. We filled the lineup card this morning. He was designated. But
I knew he was the designated hitter. He doesn't know it. That's the problem with this guy.
and we're trying to tell him. Several times we've had our offensive coordinator go up to him and say, "Listen, Jack, not for nothing here, but you're the designated hitter. Out of all of the guys that you see pull up in the parking lot, park their cars,
Yeah.
come into the clubhouse, fill themselves up on that fine food that we get from the finest restaurants in San Francisco, put a uniform on, go out there, hit the ball, play around. Out of all of those guys, 20, almost 30 of them, right? When you count anybody who can legitimately pick up a bat, you're the guy.
You're the guy that we designated.
You are the guy we said, there's the guy that can hit.
His swing, unlike the beautiful poetic swing of Shohei Ohtani, is more like a guy using a hatchet, not an axe, a hatchet. He's just whacking at the ball. And it's not inspiring, I can tell you, Vinny. I'm not inspired.
Yeah, I've seen guys that hit like that, and it is if you're sitting there watching it,
It ain't pretty.
it's not something that you want to say to yourself, gee, I want to take little Rodney out to the ballpark this afternoon and have him watch this guy swing the bat, so he picks up maybe at least a life lesson here on how to be a designated, which means you are the person that we all have faith in is going to hit the ball
Well, I don't
somewhere so
know.
that we can score some runs.
No, he might do that. He might hit the ball somewhere.
Yeah, but you can't. You see, it has to be hit for a base hit
No.
or a home run or some kind of uh, thing that results in some kind of play which advances the runners to another base.
I don't know how many games we've lost in a row now. Let's see. Let's just see.
So I don't know. I mean, where what's
We
let's see.
stink. That's what I tell Kristen. We've
They,
lost six in a row, and we got Arizona in our rearview mirror. We're gonna get well on the LA Angels. We're coming around to we'll be visiting Seattle in August. That's something to look forward to if you're a Mariner fan.
I, yeah, I think Mariner fans will be happy to see that. Because the Giants are, according to Major League Baseball, not me,
Yeah,
Major League Baseball, according to Major League Baseball, they are the designated rival
of
of the
Seattle.
Seattle Mariners.
Huh. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, they for some reason have these games every year that are played against a designated rival. So no matter what's going on, so the Yankees always play the Mets. The White Sox always play the Cubs. The Angels always play the Dodgers. And the
But then
A's
the A's should play the Giants.
always play the Giants. But in a twisted sense of whatever,
It's an imperfect world.
many years ago they decided, maybe because they both trained in Arizona, maybe because I don't know why, but they said that the Giants and the Mariners will be rivals, along with, oddly enough, the San Diego Padres.
Wow. So that leaves the Oakland A's just playing like the Oakland City Council.
Right, which the only possible link up that I ever thought could happen between the Padres and the Mariners is that they share the same spring training facility.
Well, that's kind of stretching it, Major League Baseball, but good on you.
But that was the only,
Same guy
I
that came
mean,
up with the pitch clock came up with that.
well, they are trying to innovate the game. They did get rid of, or according, depending on who you believe, he got rid of himself, Angel Hernandez, or
Yeah,
Angel Hernandez, who
he's
many
gone.
people consider to be the worst umpire in Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball history, probably.
I don't know, man. I've seen some pretty bad umpires. I mean, it'd be hard. It'd be hard to. You'd get a lot of Don Denkinger fans that would.
Chris Pellicudis.
Chris Pellicudis, another guy that many fans didn't relish the way that he called the game. But yeah,
Jocko Conlon. No one ever complained about Jocko.
well, Jocko was a big guy. You complain about Jocko, you could be picking yourself up off the floor. Jocko came from
Jocko would fold his arms and just nod. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Now go
yeah.
back to the bench. You want to finish the game, or we can take this another step. Because I hear you, but go
Don't
away.
spit on him.
Yeah,
I think, matter of fact, he had a sign written right at the top of his chest.
and it was all chin when Jocko would give you the chin. Mm-hmm.
Give you this
Yeah.
and say right here, don't mess with me. And so,
And it's not. It wasn't Jock O'Conlon. It was Jocko Conlon.
right, it was Jocko was one word, Conlon was another, not the Irish derivative of Jock.
And he was, according to Damon Runyon, slightly Irish.
No no apostrophe needed, requested, or required.
True dat.
So anyway, yeah, the Giants have fallen on hard fortune at the moment. There is, the Mariners have,
Besides stinking, we just can't keep anybody healthy. Anybody.
yeah.
If
Well,
somebody gets hot,
that seems to happen to every team, doesn't it?
well, to a degree, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, it happens to more teams, it seems, than others. But I mean, it's almost like if you sign, the pitcher that won the Cy Young the year award the year before, you expect him to come out and throw some innings for you.
Blake Snell was happy to throw some innings. Can't say which ones. He's been in the injured. He's on the injured list right now for another 10 days. We wish him a
Yeah,
speedy
it's
return
fine.
and a successful season. But right now, he's sat more than he's been playing.
And it'll wind up always being some kid from Sacramento or Phoenix or wherever the minor league um, team is that will step up and win 15
Yep,
games.
always.
A guy who they're paying the major league minimum to.
Came out of nowhere.
The
Surprised
Walt
everybody.
Weisses of the world, or
Yep.
uh, the pitchers that just for whatever reason have solved major league hitters for a year at least. Might not go the whole year, but for a year they've figured it out, and they'll win 15 games. And some team will trade for them and get a ton of money, players in return, yada yada yada. And
We got a kid like that named Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks came out of nowhere. Nobody knew him. Nobody knows where he came from. Nobody is expecting anything out of him. He's our best starting pitcher. Was going to be a reliever in the bullpen at best, and because of opportunities that opened up due to all the injuries, he's become our most reliable starter. And they actually score runs for him, and that's just a surprise that the Giants are happy to accept. But as you said, Vinny, it's always the kid making the major league minimum who came out of spring training on the team but wasn't expected to be a factor, not a heavy factor. And there
yeah,
he is, throwing the ball.
it's the Walt Weiss, it's
Yeah.
the Buddy Biancalana, it's that player that they
Did
made
Buddy,
it
did Buddy Biancalana and John Bacabella ever play together?
only if Pete Incaviglia was the umpire.
I like it.
Do you know that Incaviglia Liquors still stands in Monterey?
Really? Bringing
Yep.
up liquor stores, I was reading through what we can expect for the Hunter Biden trial today, and the liquor store where they're trying to make the case that he was using drugs. Alcohol is not on the list of drugs that would prevent him from having a gun, but they're trying to make the case that he was addicted to alcohol as well as the other things. And the liquor store that he went to in Wilmington, Delaware was Liquor Time Liquors. Now, why I find that hilarious, I can't really fully explain. Liquor Time Liquors.
Case closed, Michael. I mean, really, what do you? I mean, do you really need anything after that?
And what did you buy for $42 at Liquor Time Liquors? Well,
Some liquor.
liquor.
Some time.
I'll take a guess, but I'd say liquor and maybe a beef jerky.
Which was seasoned with time.
I salute you.
Yeah. I mean, it's so. I mean, I haven't paid any attention to the Hunter Biden trial at all, nor, for that matter, the Menendez trial all that much. Although I tend to pay more attention to the Menendez trial because it seems like it seems like he's guilty.
Well, he's got the car, the gold, and the cash.
Yeah, but much as Donald Trump has said, well, yeah, but what does that prove? Just shows you his best excuse is, well, if you live in the Latin community or you live in a black community, that people keep cash on hand.
Yeah. It's not much of a defense.
$42,000 worth of it? Well, yeah. You never know when you feel a need to buy a Chase lounge at a garage sale and put it in your foyer.
And they're not taking plastic. It's right there on the sidewalk. It was a great deal. I had to have cash or I couldn't have taken advantage of it.
So I stayed here with the Chase Lounge, and I sent Millie, my trusted wife and servant, home to get the cash out of my congressional jacket.
And she also stopped by Liquor Time Liquor on the way back and got some beef jerky.
Because you work up an appetite loading a Chase Lounge into a Mercedes.
Is the Mercedes in his name or is it in some Egyptian's name?
I'm not sure.
Who's that car registered to?
Oh, I think it, actually, I do know. It was registered to a leasing company. Because they didn't buy her the car. They allegedly leased her the car.
I see.
So it wasn't an outright purchase. It was, we'll pay for your lease for a couple of years.
And the lease company was called Great Pyramids Leasing.
Was it?
No. Should be.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It should be.
I mean, this guy, this guy's been a dirty, this guy has been a dirty senator since he's gotten there.
Since he was in short pants.
His first go around with this kind of stuff.
Since Hector was a pup.
He's he puts the Republicans to shame.
He showed them how. He learned from the governor of Illinois how to play ball in New Jersey.
Oh no, he learned from his direct predecessor, Harrison Williams,
paved the way.
Who was the big guy in the ab scam trial. Also senator from New Jersey.
There's a tradition, a proud tradition of New Jersey senators.
You don't just a Republican doesn't show that to you. You have to serve time. You have to come over to our party. You have to show your value. But, if you got Harrison Williams and you go visit him in jail, which I don't know how long he spent in jail. He was there for quite a considerable amount of time. You say the code word, abscam.
Off you go.
And you're in.
And the response is sanitation.
It's always sanitation.
I say abscam, you say sanitation, we got a deal.
You say abscam, we say sanitation, and baby, we are at the junkyard. We might as well just stop by Satriali's for a sandwich afterwards.
And get me spicy sausages.
Stay away from the sausage this week, though.
This week.
You might get a little more of Fat Sally than you thought.
Our sausage guarantee is not in effect this week.
This week. Oh my God. It's New Jersey.
Yeah,
really, when it comes down to it,
cost of doing business.
Yeah. When you really think about it, especially if you've done business in New Jersey or about New Jersey, these things don't surprise you.
Be not surprised, but be prepared.
I was always surprised that, like, Bill Bradley, didn't get caught up in some kind of scam. Or
it starts at Robert Hall, and there was no suit of Robert Hall that was going to fit him, so he didn't play ball with them.
No, actually, it started at Dennison's, the men's clothing on Route 10 in New Jersey.
Did they have a 48 long?
They had whatever you needed. Listen, wait a minute. Sammy the Tailor's going to sew some new legs on this thing. Sit down and wait a few minutes.
And they used to belong to a guy named Sal. He's not using them.
He's not using. You can catch him or remnants of him up at Satriali's on your way out of town. But I mean, it's just in your when you. What can I
It's
New
America.
Jersey. New Jersey is like a tribute band to the Beatles. You had the real mafia guys in New York, and then you had Mafia Mania. You had the tribute band in New Jersey. It wasn't quite the same thing. No matter how you cut it up. Probably a bad analogy there, but
Vinnie, it's 11:22. I think that's the perfect time for me to prepare for the birthday party that I must attend this afternoon. I'll see you for a Freaky Friday, and it'll be a fractious Freaky Friday.
Mikey, this one flew by. I mean, I feel like we opened the show like 2 minutes ago. But hopefully we've explained things to people.
Now I understand why there's bridges between New York and New Jersey, because you got to get from one place to the other, and you must learn as you go.
Nothing's guaranteed at the other end.
No guarantees.
No guarantees. All right. Sing the young man happy birthday for me, please.
I will. I'll tell him Uncle Vinny says hello.
Uncle Vinny says hello, and you should enjoy these birthdays because they're only going to get less cake and more adjective from here on in.
That's a fact.
All right, Pally. See you on Friday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise.
All righty. I'll see you at Liquor Time Liquors.
Liquor Time Liquor. Peace, love, and birthday cake, baby.
What a wine.
See you, Mikey. Thank you all for listening to. Oh, my Lord.